What if everything you've been told about spiritual awakening is not the whole truth? Not because awakening isn't real, it is profoundly, irrevocably real, but because what you have been shown on the retreats, in the courses, on the feeds is a carefully edited version. The bliss, the breakthrough, the woman standing, the golden night finally at peace with everything. But nobody showed you what comes before that. The 3 a.m. waking with no explanation. The anxiety that gets worse, not better, the more you seek. The relationships that quietly dissolve. The feeling that something is deeply, terribly wrong with you, even though something else, something deeper, knows that something is finally right. If that is where you are, I need you to hear this. You are not failing at awakening. You are awakening in the only way it actually happens. And nobody prepared you for it because most of the people that are talking about it have never truly been through it themselves. Now, stay with me because what I'm about to tell you is going to change everything. My name is Ajita, and I've been a healer and a teacher for over 35 years. I have worked with people in some of the deepest, most disorienting passages of their spiritual journey across 5 continents, across every tradition, across every level of suffering you can name. And in all of that time, one of the most painful things I have witnessed is not the awakening itself. It is the shame that people carry because their awakening doesn't look like the one they were sold. So today I want to dismantle that version and give you the real one. The one that explains not just what is happening, but why and what it actually takes to move through it into the life that is waiting for you on the other side. So let me describe the version of awakening that has been sold to you. One pivotal moment, one ceremony, one teacher, one meditation, and suddenly clarity, peace, alignment. You know your purpose. You radiate with calm. Your relationships become effortless. Abundance flows. And you post beautiful content about it with a soft lighting and a knowing smile. That is the version, but that is not awakening. This is what I call spiritual bypassing with a brand strategy. It starts when the life you built no longer fits who you are becoming. When the job that made sense for years suddenly feels like a cage. When the relationship that was comfortable begins to feel like a lie. When the version of yourself you performed for the world, the capable one, the together one, the one who never needed too much, starts to crack. And that cracking is not a breakdown. That cracking is the awakening. It is the beginning. And the reason it feels like loss, the reason it is so disconcerting and painful is that it is. You are not gaining a new identity. You are losing the one that was truly not yours. Here is what most teachers of awakening do not go deep enough to explain. The pain of awakening, the anxiety, the exhaustion, the emotional overwhelm, the losses, the sense that everything is falling apart is not random. It is not just your nervous system adjusting. It is not just an identity death, though it is that too, but it is karma resurfacing. You were not born into this life as a blank slate. You arrived carrying an energetic imprint, the accumulative, unresolved energy from this lifetime, from your ancestral line, from experiences your soul has carried far longer than this life could account for. Now, that imprint has been running quietly beneath the surface, shaping your relationships, your health, your sense of self, without you ever knowing it was there. When consciousness begins to expand, when awakening begins, it is like turning on a bright light in a room where there has been darkness for a very, very long time. And in that light, everything becomes visible. The karmic imprints, the ancestral wounds, the patterns that have been running beneath your awareness for lifetimes. They don't surface to punish you, they surface because consciousness has finally expanded enough for you to see them. And what you cannot see cannot be cleared. So the pain of awakening, the disorientation, the dark nights, the falling apart is not something going wrong. It is something going right. It is your consciousness expanding beyond the limits of your karmic field that has been able to hold them so long. And it will keep expanding layer by layer, clearing by clearing, until the karma that was contracting your field is finally completely resolved. Now, here is the part that nobody is probably telling you. And the reason so many seekers spend years, sometimes decades, in the same cycle of opening and crashing, insight and collapse. That awakening without karmic clearing is like opening every window in your house full of smoke. The light gets in, the fresh air enters, you can see more clearly, but the smoke is still there. The karmic imprints, the unresolved energy in your field, they do not clear simply because your consciousness expanded. They require direct work at the level where they actually live. Not more meditation, not more self inquiry, not more time. Direct clearing of the root. And this is the gap that I have spent the last 35 years bridging. The teachers teach you about awakening. The healers work on the symptoms, but I go to the karmic root, the specific unresolved energetic imprint that are making your awakening so painful, and I clear them directly at the source. And when that root clears, when the smoke finally leaves the house, the awakening that was always trying to happen suddenly finds space. The anxiety that was consuming you begins to lift. The exhaustion that felt like it would never end starts to resolve. The clarity you were seeking arrives, not as a concept you understand, but as a reality you inhabit. Let me tell you what real awakening looks like. Not the Instagram version, the real one. I worked with a woman who had been on the spiritual path for about 20 years. She had sat with teachers. She had done the retreats. She had meditated every day with real dedication. And she described her experiences as almost, but not quite. Almost at peace, but not quite. Almost free of the anxiety, but not quite. Almost able to trust herself, but not quite. Always almost. When we worked together, going into the karmic layers, beneath her awakening, what we found was a deep ancestral pattern, a lineage of women who had been silenced, a pattern that was running beneath every meditation, beneath every retreat, beneath every moment of almost. When that karmic root was cleared, she said something I will never forget. She said, It is as if I have been listening to my whole life through a wall. I could hear it, but it was muffled, always slightly out of reach. Now the wall is gone. I am not almost, I am actually here. This is real awakening. Not a moment, not an event, not a highlight reel, a deepening, a clearing, a coming home to the truth that has always been there, beneath everything that has been placed on top of it. So if you are in the middle of this right now, if your awakening looks like nothing the one that you were promised, if you are tired, confused, grieving things that you cannot name, questioning everything you thought you knew, I want to say something to you directly. You're not falling apart. You're not broken. You are not someone for whom awakening does not work. You are carrying karmic weight that when your expanding consciousness is finally ready to release, you will feel better. And the fact that it is surfacing, the fact that it is painful is proof that your consciousness is moving, that the light is getting in. But the question is not whether your awakening is real. The question is whether you have the right support to move through the karmic layers that are making it so hard. Because here is what I have known with certainty after 35 years across hundreds of people, across every kind of awakening pain that you can describe, the karma that is creating your suffering can be cleared. Not managed, not coped with, and not meditated around, but cleared at the root. And when it clears, consciousness expands. And when consciousness expands, suffering ends. Not as a promise, but as a result I have witnessed more times than I can count. Before you close this video, I want to give you something practical. Something you can do right now in the next 2 minutes to begin to feel the difference between what is yours and what is karmic. Now place your hand on your heart. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it out completely. Now ask yourself 3 questions. Don't rush the answers. Let your body respond. First, where is my body holding the tension right now? Not the story about it, not the sensation, the tightness in the chest, the heaviness in the shoulders, and the knots that never quite leave. Secondly, ask yourself, how long has this feeling been with me? Is it recent or does it feel older than this situation? Older than this relationship? Older than this lifetime? And thirdly, and this is the most important one, does this feeling feel like mine or does it feel like something I arrived with, something I inherited, something that was already there when I came in? If it feels older than you, if it feels inherited, then that is not your imagination, because that is your karma speaking. And karma that can be felt can be cleared. Remember that. The version of awakening you were sold was a lie. Not because awakening isn't real, but because the real version is so much more demanding, so much more profound, and so much more transformative than any highlight could ever capture. The real awakening happens in the dark at 3 a.m. when no one is watching, when the person you thought you had to be is finally, mercifully falling away. And beneath that falling away, beneath the confusion and the grief and the disorientation, is the you that was always there. Whole, clear, safe, awake to its own divinity, not as a distant aspiration, but as an everyday living reality. That is what becomes possible when karma is clear. That is what I am here to help you reach. Subscribe to this channel because in the videos that follow, I am going to show you exactly how karma shows up in your awakening, your health, your relationships, and your life, and what it looks like when it finally clears. Drop a comment below and tell me, what does your awakening actually look like? And does it look like a highlighted reel? Or does it look like the 3 a.m. version? I want to know. Because if it's a 3 a.m. version, then you are exactly in the right place. And I'll see you in the next video.